The Galactic Council Hall was never quiet. The huge chamber was built for sound, the voices of hundreds of species, mixing together into a storm of noise and arguments. But on this day, something strange happened. The noise died slowly at first, like a storm losing its wind, then all at once, until only the faint hum of the lights could be heard. Every alien head turned toward the center platform where a human delegate was standing. He was tall but not imposing, wearing the simple black suit of Earth's diplomats. His eyes were calm, yet there was something in them that made even the warlike crawl shift uncomfortably in their seats. He did not raise his voice. He did not need to. When he spoke, the words seemed to cut through the airweave. Tried kindness, it didn't work. The sentence hung in the silence as if the air itself was holding its breath. For years, the galaxy had known humans as the polite newcomers. They were curious explorers, generous traders eager to build bridges with any species they met. They sat in this council for decades, always trying to settle disputes through peace talks and compromise, but the same peace they offered was never returned. The human looked slowly around the chamber, making eye contact with every major power. Some of them could not meet his gaze. The holographic screens above showed his name: Ambassador. Hail of Earth, a man who had never before spoken with such weight in this chamber, but this was not the same man. They remembered this. One carried something different. He reached into his pocket and placed a small black data crystal on the table before him. The council's sensors scanned it, and the displays lit up, showing file after file locked and marked with red security seals. "You will open these now," Hale said, his voice still calm but heavy like distant thunder. A council clerk protested, citing protocol. Hale interrupted. "You will open them, or I will read them out loud." His tone made even the high speaker pause. With a flick of her claw, she gave the order. The seals broke one by one, and the chamber filled with images and recordings. The first was a human colony burning. Buildings collapsed under alien bombardment as civilians ran for cover. Some made it to shelters. Most did not. The next showed a transport ship under attack, its engines disabled, before boarding craft latched on and cut inside. The screens showed human crews dragged away, beaten, and sold. The final set of files showed something worse: secret transmissions between alien powers arranging blockades against human worlds, discussing ways to keep Earth's technology decades behind the rest of the galaxy. The recordings were clear, voices and faces identifiable. The room grew colder. Some leaders shifted in their seats, others looked down, pretending to study the floor. Hale let the images play without a single word. His silence was more dangerous than any speech. When the final recording ended, he leaned forward. "We asked for peace," he said, his voice low but carrying to every corner of the chamber. "You gave us graves." In the far corner, a representative from the Grath Confederacy stood to object, calling the recordings fake. Hale didn't look at him. He simply said, "We brought proof that can be verified against your own systems, and if you try to deny it, we will release it to the entire public net of the galaxy." A murmur moved through the council. It was not the usual murmur of board politics. It was the sound of fear, the kind of fear that comes when you realize someone you thought was weak might not have been weak at all. Hale stepped back, letting the weight of his words sink in. His calm expression never changed, but his eyes told another story. They were the eyes of someone who had waited too long, who had watched too much, and who had decided that waiting was over. The silence stretched again. No one dared speak first. The Galactic Council Hall had seen shouting matches that lasted hours, but now even the loudest warlords kept their mouths shut. For the first time in years, every species present understood something simple: humanity was done playing nice. The silence in the council hall didn't last long. The moment the high speaker cleared her throat, the room erupted in overlapping voices. Some demanded investigations, others called for immediate denials, and a few whispered quietly to their aides. Hallie stood in the center, not moving, as if the storm of noise was nothing but wind against stone. Eventually, the high speaker pounded her staff against the floor, and the noise died again. Her eyes were fixed on Hale. Her tone measured. "You have made serious accusations, Ambassador. Do you have more than words?" Hale didn't answer right away. Instead, he gestured toward the screens above. Then a new set of files opened, and the chamber darkened as the images took shape. This time, there were no distant battlefield scenes, no impersonal war footage. These were close and intimate. They showed a meeting in a dark chamber, alien leaders leaning in over a holographic map of human territories, marking systems to starve, cutting supply lines with precision. One of the voices in the recording belonged to a council member present in the room. The recognition was instant. Some of the aliens shifted away from their neighbors as if being near them might bring trouble. Hale's voice remained calm as he spoke. These are not random acts. These were agreed upon. Here among your own people, the goal was simple. Keep humans small, keep humans weak. Another file opened. It showed a human research station destroyed from within its reactor, overloaded by a virus planted in its systems. The virus signature matched the technology of a species. Now sitting 3 seats to Hale's left, he turned his gaze toward their representative but said nothing. The unspoken accusation was enough. The chamber was quieter. Now, not silent, but subdued, as if the weight of the evidence pressed down on everyone. Hale walked slowly toward the center display, and with a motion of his hand changed the projection. A massive shape appeared in the hologram, half hidden in shadow. The aliens leaned forward, trying to identify it. The image gave no clear details, only the outline of a vast ship, unlike anything in the Council's fleet. There was a faint intake of breath from several war-seasoned delegates. Rumors, they thought, forgotten, stirred in the back of their minds. Hale's tone did not change, but there was something in it now, something colder. You have taken our lives and our worlds. You have laughed while we buried our dead. We came here for peace, but understand. There is a limit. His words were met with silence again, and this time it wasn't shock alone. It was something deeper: unease, curiosity, and a growing fear. The high speaker finally spoke. What is that ship? Ambassador Hale looked up at the hologram. For a moment before answering, that is a shadow from our past, he said softly, and soon it may be your future. He ended the projection, letting the image vanish, leaving the council staring at empty air. The message was clear. Humanity had more than just anger. It had something they had kept hidden, and the galaxy might not be ready to see it. The council chamber was thick with tension after Ambassador Hale's last words. Every delegate was silent, each mind racing with questions. What was this shadow from humanity's past? Was it a threat or a promise? The air felt heavy, as if the very walls were waiting for an answer. Hale's calm face gave nothing away, but the silence said more than any words could. Suddenly, a soft hum filled the room as the holographic display flickered back to life. This time, the image showed a star map with blinking dots scattered across space. Then a single point glowed brighter than the rest, a secret human fleet known as the Iron Horizon. The aliens leaned forward, whispering among themselves. Stories had circulated for years about this fleet, but no one had ever seen proof. It was said to be a legend, a ghost ship built in secret to defend Earth in times of great danger. Now here it was, undeniable and real. A council member from the Vrak species narrowed their eyes and asked, "How many ships does this fleet hold?" Hale's voice was steady as he replied, "Enough to change the course of the galaxy." The room shifted uncomfortably. Some aliens exchanged worried looks, while others scowled, angry at the idea of being threatened by humans. Hale continued without pause, "For too long, we played your games. We followed your rules. But those rules never included fairness for humanity. Now you will see what happens when we stop playing." Sudden alert interrupted the tense moment. The council's screens showed real-time sensor data. A human fleet was moving quietly through a nearby system, positioning itself just outside council-controlled space. Murmurs spread quickly as some tried to deny the threat, but the facts were clear. Hale's calm smile deepened slightly as he said, "This is only the beginning." The council had no choice but to listen now. Humanity was no longer the quiet newcomer. It was a force ready to fight for respect and survival. The chamber buzzed with a mixture of fear, anger, and a strange new respect. The galaxy was changing, and all eyes were on the humans. The Galactic Council chamber was filled with whispers and nervous glances as Ambassador Hale calmly laid out his terms. The human delegate did not shout or threaten, but his words carried the weight of a storm. For years, humanity had asked for justice, for peace, for respect. Now, they demanded it. The council members listened as he named the conditions: the return of stolen human systems, reparations for lost colonies, and the dismantling of illegal blockades that strangled Earth's trade routes. His voice was steady and clear, every sentence carefully chosen to leave no room for misunderstanding. Some of the alien leaders scoffed, laughing openly at what they called human arrogance. They believed humans were bluffing, that Earth lacked the power to back up such bold demands. But the calm in Hale's eyes never faltered. He spoke not just as a diplomat, but as someone who knew the true strength behind his words. "This is your last chance to deal with us as friends," he said softly. The room grew colder as his meaning sank in. Suddenly, the council's large screens flickered and a live feed appeared. The image showed a distant star system, where a formation of sleek human warships glided silently through space. Were unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen, sleek, fast, and armed with weapons that pulsed with strange blue light. Some alien delegates gasped, others sat frozen, their earlier laughter replaced by stunned silence. The so-called bluff was real. Hale's voice filled the chamber once again. "We have waited long enough. You have ignored our warnings. Now we are here." The words echoed through the vast hall, a quiet but undeniable declaration of power. Alien leaders whispered urgently among themselves. Realizing that humanity's patience had ended, the High Speaker stood, her many eyes fixed on Hale. "Ambassador," she said with a sharp tone, "your actions threaten the peace of the galaxy. If you insist on war, then we will respond accordingly." Her warning carried the weight of the entire Council's military. Force is a reminder that many of the alien species possessed formidable fleets. But Hal was not intimidated. He answered calmly, "We seek peace, but we are ready for war. The choice is yours." There was a pause, heavy and tense, before Hal turned away from the council and toward the window that looked out into space. The fleet outside was all ready. Moving into position, silent and deadly, the council chamber was no longer just a place for debate. It had become the center of a looming conflict that could reshape the galaxy. Some alien representatives began to rise, calling for emergency meetings and rapid responses. Others, however, watched Hale with a new respect and acknowledgement that the humans had changed. Back on the distant star system, the human fleet formed tight ranks. The captains communicated through silent codes and gestures, each ship ready to act at a moment's notice. They carried the weight of Earth's hopes and the pain of centuries of injustice. Within the council chamber, the atmosphere shifted from disbelief to cautious urgency. Alien delegates debated fiercely but knew, deep down, that the humans had tipped the scales. No longer could the galaxy ignore Earth's voice or treat humanity as a weak and peaceful species to be pushed aside. The human delegates' calm presence contrasted sharply with the rising tension. Hale's eyes scanned the room once more, his voice steady but firm. "We offer peace. We offer cooperation. But if you refuse, be prepared to face the consequences." The chamber fell silent again as the words sank in. Outside the council, in the dark vacuum of space, the stars seemed to hold their breath. The stage was set for a new era, one where humanity would no longer be ignored or mistreated. The quiet, calm before the storm was broken only by the distant hum of the human fleet's engines. Moving steadily closer to their next move, the galaxy waited. The distant stars flickered cold and silent as the human fleet moved steadily into the disputed system. The ships glided like shadows across the black canvas of space, their sleek forms cutting through the darkness. The fleet was vast, but it moved with the quiet precision of a hunter stalking its prey. For years, rumors about the Iron Horizon fleet had whispered through the halls of the Galactic Council, but no one had ever seen it until now. Alien warships, stationed near the system, picked up the approaching vessels on their sensors. Confidence filled their crews. They believed this was a simple patrol, nothing more. These alien fleets were large, heavily armed, and battle-hardened. It fought in countless skirmishes and wars. To them, humans were still untested soft creatures who relied on luck and stubbornness. But the humans were not soft anymore. The Iron Horizon fleet was not built for parley or exploration. It was forged in silence, far from the eyes of the galaxy, designed for a single purpose, to protect humanity by any means necessary. As the first human ships crossed the system's edge, alarm bells echoed through the alien command ships. Orders were shouted, weapons charged, and battle stations manned. The leaders believed victory was certain. But the humans had studied the alien tactics for years. They knew their enemies' moves before they made them. The first strike came swiftly and without mercy. Human vessels launched waves of small drones that swarmed alien ships, disabling shields and jamming communications. Then came the heavy weapons pulses of energy that tore through the alien armor like paper. The battle was over in minutes. Alien commanders stared at their glowing wreckage in disbelief. Their most advanced ships destroyed before they could react. The human fleet moved with ruthless efficiency, leaving nothing but silence where once stood a proud armada. The Galactic Council's screens lit up with live feeds of the battle, sending shockwaves through the chamber.
Back inside the council.
Delegates watched with wide eyes. The arrogance they once held toward humanity had evaporated. Some whispered of betrayal, others of fear. The war-hardened Krail warrior clenched his fists, his jaw tight. The Vrax delegates' cold eyes were filled with calculation, already weighing the cost of this new threat. Ambassador Hale stood tall amidst the storm of reactions. His voice was calm as he addressed the chamber. You thought we were weak? You thought we would always ask and never act. Now you see the truth. A murmur of agreement rippled through a few delegates, those who had quietly hoped humanity would rise. But many were still too proud to admit defeat. They demanded retaliation, and the council began to fracture into opposing camps. Yet, even as the council debated, the humans continued their advance. Their ships held formation, moving like a single living entity. They were not there to concur, not yet, but to send a clear message. Humanity's patience was gone, and their strength was real. As the battle ended, the council's high speaker rose again, her voice steady but strained. Ambassador Hale, your actions have changed the galaxy's balance. We cannot ignore this. Hale nodded, his eyes scanning the room. Then let us begin the new order, one where humanity is respected, or one where conflict becomes the only language. The chamber fell into silence, the weight of those words pressing down on every species present. The council knew the days of ignoring Earth were over. The humans had awakened something the galaxy had not expected, and the future would never be the same. Outside, the Iron Horizon fleet held position, waiting silently for the next command. The stars seemed less distant now, closer to the fire that humanity had lit beneath them. The Galactic Council chamber was heavy with tension as the final decisions were made. The room, once filled with anger and disbelief, had shifted into a strange mixture of respect and reluctant acceptance. Galaxy to its core, forcing every species to reconsider what they thought they knew about Earth and its people. The centuries of ignoring, mocking, and underestimating humanity were coming to an end. Ambassador Hale stood quietly as the council. Members signed the new agreements. The terms were clear: stolen human worlds would be returned. Reparations would be paid for destroyed colonies, and illegal blockades would be dismantled immediately. The council pledged to respect Earth's sovereignty and include humanity as a true equal in galactic affairs. The old order was broken, replaced by a new balance of power, one where Earth was no longer a quiet observer, but a major force. Some alien delegates watched with envy, others with fear. The Krail warlord's cold glare met Hale's calm eyes. But there was no more hostility, only a mutual recognition of strength. The Vrax representative, once so quick to dismiss humans, nodded silently, perhaps acknowledging a lesson learned too late. The galaxy was changing, and there was no turning back. As the last signatures were placed, Hale turned and walked toward the chamber's great windows. Outside, the stars twinkled quietly, but the darkness was different now. The Iron Horizon, fleet, Earth's secret weapon, drifted silently in orbit, ready for whatever might come next. It was a reminder to all that humanity had awakened and that they were prepared to protect their place in the cosmos. The High Speaker stepped forward, her voice softer than before. Ambassador Hale, the Council thanks you for your honesty and strength. We hope this marks the beginning of a lasting peace. Hale inclined his head respectfully. Peace is only possible when respect is shared. We will do our part to build that future. With the formalities complete, the delegates began to leave. Some exchanging cautious glances, others speaking quietly of the new realities they faced. Yet behind the calm, there was an undercurrent of uncertainty. Some species already whispered of alliances and weapons, unsure if humanity's rise would bring balance or endless conflict. Outside the council chambers, the human delegation gathered briefly. The mood was one of quiet triumph mixed with careful resolve. They knew the path ahead would not be easy, but for the first time, Earth's voice was heard as an equal among the stars. Ambassador Hale addressed his team. We have won this battle, but the real challenge begins now. We must prove that humanity's strength can bring unity, not destruction. One of his aides nodded. The galaxy will watch us closely. We must be ready. Hale smiled faintly. Then let them watch. We will show them who we truly are. Far beyond the council, in the silent expanse of space, the Iron Horizon fleet waited. The massive ships, cloaked in shadow and mystery, were a symbol of Earth's resilience and power. They had been built in secret, forged from the pain of loss, and the hope for a future where humanity would never again be pushed aside. The fleet's commanders prepared for what might come next, knowing that their actions had changed the galaxy forever. Earth was no longer a quiet planet on the edge of the stars. It was a rising force, ready to face whatever threats or opportunities awaited as the human ships drifted through the void. The stars seemed to burn a little brighter. The galaxy had awakened to a new order, and humanity stood at its center. No longer playing nice, but ready to shape the future with strength and honor.